Yeah.
All right, everybody. Welcome to the next episode of the Prop Tech Genius Show. And it's my genius in the hot seat today is May Al-Karooni. Did I say that right? See,
Yes,
I told you I did
absolutely.
it. Oh, I
It's
did it right.
perfect.
And we're sitting here before the show started talking about shroom coffee. That's what we were talking about. And so May is going to be high as a kite during this whole interview. No, I'm just kidding.
I
Tell
wish.
everybody what shroom coffee is. What is shroom coffee?
It's a
So,
big craze in the UK at the moment, where it's basically mushroom extracts from, I think, lion's mane mushroom, something like that, with some
mhm.
enzyme and some healthy herbs, and with a bit of coffee bean in there. And apparently, it's supposed to be healthier and give you a lot
Yeah.
more energy in the morning. And because I drink so much coffee, I thought I'm going
Oh,
to give this a try because it's
yeah.
not good for the system to be.
Your body's gotten it already used to coffee, so it doesn't
Yeah,
do anything for you anymore. Yeah, kind of like
exactly.
me, kind of like me. Yeah, I just drink it
Yeah.
like the taste of it,
It's a
or
ritual, right? Exactly. I
yes,
just like the taste. It's a ritual. Got to have my cappuccino, coffee,
yep.
then midday, and then
Mhm.
another one. And then before you know it, I'm like, not sleeping.
I don't know if it's that because I'm not sleeping, or I'm just, I'm old and going through the change of life, and my body clock is all
Me
wacko.
too, Amy. I don't know what's going on. Yeah, I
I
know.
don't
I
either.
know. I wish they told you. I wish I'd appreciated in my
Yeah,
youth the
yeah,
energy
I
and
know.
the
The hormones are doing the mambo in my body at the moment. Like, listen
completely
to all the stuff we
same.
talk about on this show. It's great.
Yeah, I
Oh,
know.
it's
I know.
awesome. Not, not awesome. Yeah, the boys are just lucky they don't have to go through
They
it.
really do. They can be moody too, though, you
They
know?
can be. Maybe there is a men kind of thing. I
I
don't know if
think
there
so,
is.
secretly. Yeah, yeah,
Yes,
absolutely.
really. I mean, but they have it their whole lives, though.
Yeah.
They're moody all the time. No, I'm just kidding. All right. Yeah, my dig at men. We had to do a dig
Yeah,
at men.
sorry.
I'm sorry. Okay. Very cool. Well, why don't you go ahead and tell my audience who you are, what you're doing, and all the fun things you're doing in the world. You have a really cool product. It's pretty awesome.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, my day job when I'm
In your
not
day
drinking
job.
coffee and experimenting. So I run what I call a reuse ESG marketplace. So it's very kind of new, kind of made the term up many years ago. But ultimately, imagine it's like eBay, but we don't sell anything. We give it away for free, and we generate ESG data, environment, social governance data on the impact of where items and assets go. So predominantly we work with corporate enterprises, non-profits, small businesses to reuse and redistribute unneeded assets, inventory items, predominantly construction material. And I can tell you how we got into that
Yeah.
later. But anything from retail, real estate, commercial properties, people can list things on the system. We send alerts to our members. They're a mix of these non-profits and small businesses and individuals. They request it, pick it up for free, and then we generate the ESG data on the impact of where it goes. So that is GlobeChain.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. And how long have y'all been going with your
Yeah,
company?
so we've actually officially been trading 9 years, believe it or not.
Look
So
at you.
yeah, it's a long time, long time. But
Yeah.
in tech terms, it's nothing really. The
Oh,
overnight success is what, 7 years. So I'm hoping we're there, nearly there.
yeah, no, no, for sure. Yeah, you reach critical mass at like 7 or 8, and then
Yeah,
everybody's like, "Oh, you're an overnight success." Yeah,
yeah, yeah,
whatever.
yeah,
You see what
yeah,
I just did for the last 7 to 8 years?
exactly. Do you see this gray hair?
Exactly. So are you primary, what's your geography coverage? You're right now just in the UK, right? Is
Oh no,
that
we're actually UK and Ireland.
okay?
We've been quietly building and working in New York and actually Texas, and
Okay.
then we're also in Spain. So they've been our main areas the last couple of years. But in COVID, we did actually quite silently launch end of COVID in the US. But we're about this year we're really scaling up the US market because
Awesome.
we've got clients now about to begin predominantly East Coast from kind of Boston,
Yeah.
Chicago.
Yeah.
Obviously, we've still got New York State, Florida, and then obviously we're jumping into a bit of Texas, and
Yeah.
then we go West Coast to California, California state. So
Oh.
That California will be probably later this year. But it's building up slowly in those regions, just really where demand is, where our clients have gone, hey, we've got warehouses, we've got buildings, we've got projects. And so we're
Yeah.
trying to match everybody in those areas to obviously make it
Yeah.
more efficient.
Well, I mean, you're a further along, more mature company. What was your experience like when you kind of transitioned into the US market? Because I mean, I
Yeah.
talk to a lot of startups. They're like, oh yeah, I want to get into the US. I'm like,
Yeah.
sure
Yeah.
you know what you're asking for?
Yeah, exactly, exactly. No, this was very organic.
Mhm.
We didn't go, oh, let's go to the US straight away. This is
Yeah,
like I said, like 9 years in the making. Probably
yeah,
7.5 years in. We dabbled in New York a little bit
yeah.
with very patient clients, and Texas was kind of by accident because we had a client there, and we were
Mhm.
like, hey, yeah, let's try and build a network around you, and it really worked.
Yeah.
For different reasons, just
Mhm.
communities, society, and economics. And
Right.
especially in Texas, there was the Hurricane Harvey. This is years ago. I'm going on.
Yes.
But
Hmm.
it was very funny actually, because when we were watching people take items, they were saying they wanted it because of Harvey, and it didn't click. They were talking about the hurricane and the situation, but this was 2 or 3 years in the past, so it
Oh
wasn't
yeah.
an instant, disaster recovery kind of scenario.
Yeah.
And they were saying Harvey this, Harvey that. We're like, who is this Harvey? And we realized it was to do with the hurricane like 2 years ago. People were still struggling 2 years down the
Oh,
line,
oh, for sure.
and taking
So you're talking
items.
about Houston. You went into Houston. Is that what you
Exactly.
did?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
so that was quite an eye opener to kind of understand different dynamics and what people wanted. But yeah, organic growth. I think sometimes that's better because you're
Mhm.
going with demand, and so you're going to the right areas and regions where
Yeah.
clients want it, and then from there you can obviously focus your efforts on certain areas. But we like to do it like that, and we like to do it with clients that we've known from the UK market and Spain,
Okay.
who
Okay.
have subsidiaries or partnerships with US firms. So that's
Yeah.
initially how it broke through. It wasn't a case of let's really blitz it, because there's so much competition in the
Yeah.
US. It is very different, as a lot of Americans know. English and Americans articulate business very differently.
Yes, we do. Yeah, no, but oh no, that's super cool because as you try to grow, and if I were to go to another country, I would be like, how the heck am I going to do that? I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah,
going into US is so broad. I mean, even if I went to New York, I would be like, oh boy, this would be interesting.
yeah, yeah,
But we're kind of getting there. But yeah,
yeah.
no, I mean, I feel you. So if you have those connections back to those UK companies, and they kind of understand. But at that point, those new customers actually are really partners of yours, right? They're helping you
Exactly.
build out everything that you're trying to do, right? Is that,
Yeah, because they
yeah.
understand how we operate, they know us, they trust us, they understand the challenges of going to somewhere new. They want it there, and we always manage expectations, going, listen, we need to do a little bit of research on dynamics, logistics, who needs what where, and then we'll trial it. We'll trial it with you, and
Yeah.
they're very patient with it. And at the end of the day, businesses are people, so they have their own challenges internally. And if there are no solutions, they're up for, looking at new solutions and new business models. So it actually hasn't been difficult to work alongside the partners.
Mhm.
What's more challenging is getting out there with so many different innovations that are screaming, shouting, and obviously homegrown businesses as well,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah. No, 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 I feel you. For sure. I mean, it is what it is here. I mean, the US is the US, and it's even in, if even though I'm in the US, I'm in Austin, and we kind of have a national presence, right,
Yeah,
for my company too, but I would still have to do the same thing that you would do if I was,
yeah,
like I said, New York or LA or wherever I was
yeah,
going.
yeah,
Yeah, you would have to, learn how to shout amongst all
yeah.
of the other noise.
And
So, yeah.
exactly. Yeah. And we treat every state as a mini country in the
Yes.
US
Yeah.
because it's
Well,
so big.
Texas kind of is.
Yeah. It kind of is, I know. I have
Yeah,
to say,
yeah.
I
They
like
would
I like
rather,
Texas.
there was a big, I don't know if you know this, back in the day, there was this big whole push to secede. Like they were like there was
I
people
remember.
marching on the Capitol. They
I
wanted to
remember.
secede from the US. And I'm like, y'all are lost your flipping marbles. I
Yeah.
mean, there's so much interdependency between the state of Texas and the federal government, whether they want to admit it or not,
Yeah. Yeah.
it, so you just like I'm just like, y'all shut up. Like, come on, this is not happening. But if you feel your constitutional right to like,
Yeah.
your voice, it's free speech, you go, you do you, but it ain't happening.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
know, I know, I know. Well, it's the same here with Scotland, right? Scotland
Oh,
wants
yeah,
England
yeah, yeah.
from
That's right.
England. And yeah, it just I'm like, good luck.
Yeah, yeah, I know. I know, I feel you, but yeah, no, for
Yeah.
sure. But yeah, so we do. I mean, we have very large states and we're very active local, state governments, and
Yeah,
they try to they'll have their own the local laws and state laws and different things that
exactly.
they're concerned
Yeah.
about. And yeah, it is like going into a different
It's a
country.
minefield. Yeah, one of the first things we looked at actually when we looked at the US was just federal tax, state tax,
Mhm.
different regulations in different states. It's so much more complex. UK, Spain, kind of Europe. It's kind of one country, one unit.
Yeah.
You might have two levels of government, and that's kind of
Mhm.
it. But the top government gives the money to the lower government. That's kind of it, and there's no different tax.
Oh,
Side.
yeah. Yeah.
Healthcare, I'd say, is obviously a bit simpler with us,
Yeah.
with the way it's used. But yeah, you have to tread carefully and find the right partners, really. It's all
Yes.
about really good people that know their own areas
Yeah.
and regions.
Way back in the day when I was a general contractor, we were doing projects in 16 states. Can you
Wow.
imagine the nightmare of
But
doing
how did you
operations?
sleep?
Oh my God. I was just like, and then we've had some of the states had contractors licenses, some of
Yeah,
them did, some municipalities did, and
yeah.
then you this, and then you had tax, and then you had workers working there, and so you had to pay payroll tax and income tax in the
Yes.
states. And like I
Yeah.
was just like, yeah.
Yeah.
And we kept our CPA very busy.
Yeah.
And he's like, where are they working now? I'm like, they're going to be there for less than 2 weeks. They're going to fly under the radar. They're not going to even know we're there.
I know,
Great. Yeah,
right?
yeah, I know. But no, they always knew we were there. I mean,
Yeah, of course they do. They're
of
like on
course
it.
they do.
It's
Yeah,
like
I was just hoping, wink, wink. I was like, no. But yeah, no, we were all over the place, and it was just insane the work you
that's
had to do to
crazy.
go into a different state or even a
Yeah.
different community within the same state. I mean, some of them have
Yeah.
local laws where you have to get, business licenses and all these other
Yes.
different things that you need to do.
Yeah. And also
Yeah,
these are relationships, right? With some other people when you're getting licenses, planning permission. And
yeah.
like these are relationships that you have to build over time if you want, something quicker or a bit of communication. And I mean, you did an incredible job, really. It's
Uh, that
that's
was
that's
another life and another reason for gray hair. Yes,
yeah,
for sure.
yeah.
Yeah. No, I know. The only reason my hair is this color, y'all, is because it's called a box and it's L'Oreal and it's awesome. Because otherwise it would be gray. It would be completely gray. Did I just admit that on TV? I did. I admitted that. I colored my hair. Oh well.
It's okay.
It's all good.
Everyone does.
They do. They
Yeah.
do. And it's so funny. My grandmother, I've had the luckiest lineage that I've had very, strong women in my family,
Yeah.
and they've lived a very, very long time. And I kept looking at my grandma like, my granny, like, you look so young. She goes, Amy, it's that box of hair color. I'm just telling you, you're gonna have to do this when you get older. I was just
Hope
like,
L'Oreal pay you for this.
yes, I know. They should be a sponsor of the show. I am
I
telling
know.
I know. Yeah. But no, she was great. I love my grandmother. She's awesome. Very, very cool. So tell me about the whole ESG data and how that
Yeah.
works. So
Yeah.
they're getting credits for reusing materials, right? Is that
Exactly.
how it
Yeah.
works in the
So
UK? Okay.
yeah, so basically in the same way in the States as well, you can get credits for something called BREEAM or LEED, as everybody knows, LEED credits for construction. But the ESG data, for those who don't know, is used and it's been used for many years. It wasn't even called ESG in the past. It was just used quietly by analysts and everybody, every man and his dog. But the banks use it predominantly for things like credit financing, bond risk, IPO, share pricing. So every company has a grading when they're getting financing or loans, and that is the ESG data. And when something floats on the Nasdaq, obviously they're looking at profitability first, but then there are these multiple metrics of ESG, and it's everything. It's not just within the sustainability and construction space. Every company has these metrics. There's been a bit of, I'd say, greenwashing and the fashion of using the word ESG and everything out. But a lot of these companies, their departments don't speak to each other, so they never really get that transparent in this data. But what we do is we focus on the reuse of construction material ordinarily, or retail fixtures, medical equipment, that kind of thing. We do products as well. Obsolete, that would be like our outlier, but predominantly it's things like windows, fire doors, flooring, carpet tiles, anything that is almost like not worth selling because it hasn't got a resale value. It might be too expensive or very difficult to recycle.
Right.
And a client would be like, you know what, it's cheaper for us to reuse and give it to somewhere else, community, for example. And actually, we can get even more credits and brownie points with our ESG on the social impact side. So that's where we come in. So we give a transparent audit trail of this, and we cover everything: kilos diverted. We tell you who took it, what they did with it, if it helped with upskilling, employment levels, communities, secondary savings in the market. So we give you a real time, like machine learning value of if you'd sold that product, what you'd get for it, including inflation. And then things like sustainable development goals, if they're interested in like UN targets. And something that we've done the last year is we're able to give a verified carbon scope 3 emissions figure. So, which is very important these days for a lot of people when they're trying to hit carbon zero targets or reducing their emissions. So
they don't have to spend money to buy carbon credits,
Exactly. They can look at that, the reuse. Obviously, we do carbon credits as well, but it's separate if somebody wanted it. But the transaction of reuse through the system is definitely reducing their carbon offsetting because it's prolonging the product. And we've been verified through the Canadian registry for that. So and we audit that every year with an independent auditor. So the data is, when we started it, no one really knew about ESG. Now it's kind of our USP to the site. We have the largest network globally. We have 10,000 members, and they're a mix of these nonprofit small businesses and people. So, you for your home, I can go on there and request some building materials. But what we've found really interesting the last few years is vendors to vendors and suppliers and contractors to contractors are taking stuff from each other. And ordinarily, we would have thought they're competition, right, for different projects. But actually, it's becoming more and more regular, really, because they're realizing we've got a budget, and distribution, supply chain is hard at the moment, and this stuff is perfectly good and new. It's not being used, and they're getting around it through their compliance and health and safety. So it's really refreshing to see that move on from the days where people were probably nervous of reusing construction material. But I think when they see where it goes and the human element of it, people change their mind, because that would have already got into a dumpster or a waste firm. Picked it up.
That's when I was a GC, we did that crap all the time. We had to demo out mirrors, and I would call one of my other clients. It was we built like Anytime Fitnesses, and they used lots of mirrors. I'm like, hey, I got to demo out all these mirrors. Y'all can y'all use them? Right. We would do that a lot. Or but otherwise it would end up in the dumpster because I don't have time to deal with
time to source it.
Yes.
No, source the people, and then they're like, oh, I want one, not 100. Whereas with a network, they come to you immediately. It's an average of like 20 minutes after we send out alerts, people start requesting big bulk.
Awesome.
And the beauty of it is they don't feel pressurized because you're not on the phone with them going, please take 100, right? Because what a lot of nonprofits or NGOs do will be like, they'll partner with you, maybe take big volumes, hold it in their warehouse, and then when they do their stock take every year to do the rolling stock, they might not have space for it anymore, and they can't resell it or reuse it
Mm,
if they want. So then they have to dispose of it.
yeah,
Uh,
it's
you
not
know,
good.
and it's not good. So it's better that people come to you requesting, and they'll pick a big amount if they need it. And some great stories and case studies. We get some great stories that get sent back through the system to you on
That's
that, which is quite
awesome.
satisfying. You forget
Yeah,
that after all, as you said, the stress and the like as you said, you're under pressure on a site,
you
to get
are.
things
You
done.
are. And it's
Yeah.
okay. I mean, I wouldn't mind letting the material stay there for a day or two. If somebody was going
Yeah.
to come pick it up. Like we
Yeah.
could work around a day or two,
Yeah.
right? But
Yeah.
past that, it was like it's going in the dumpster because I
Gotta
got
go.
this crap
Yeah,
out
yeah, yeah, absolutely,
of there. Yeah.
absolutely. And here
Yeah.
you can virtually list it even before you do your audit and
Oh, hey,
saying
there you
we're going to
go.
keep when
Yeah.
we're not, right? And then put a future date. But people do come quite quickly, and actually it's the client that doesn't realize how quick people request it and go, oh, hang on, I'm not ready. Give me a couple of days and I'll give you it. But it's around like 4 working days. People tend to pick up from a request to
Oh, that's awesome.
communication.
That's
Yeah.
that's
Yeah,
great. Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, I guess when they get used to it, they understand how they can
completely.
they
Very easy.
understand the lead times and then they can kind of get there.
Yeah, yeah. And you have your own rhythm, right? So
Mhm.
you do it on your time if you're, when you're on site, when you're not. So and yeah, and we've had many contractors and non-profits become friends on the back of it, and
That's
everything.
awesome.
We had one, it was a luxury retailer that we are under NDA, we can't say who it is, but everybody knows them. They're everywhere. And they have a warehouse in New York, and they gave away the most unbelievable fixtures, furniture, chess sets. There
Wow.
was a full-blown American diner that they'd used for like a fashion show one
Oh
year.
my goodness,
And
that's
it
awesome.
was so perfect. And we had to really persuade the members that it was real. It was so amazing. And we were like, we can't tell you who it is. Just, we'll book you in, go to the warehouse, trust us, you'll love it. And then and we were so under like we can't say who it is and everything. We go to the warehouse and there's a huge sign like in flashing lights of who they are. And but when they realize, they're like, oh my God, this is amazing. And to this day they still talk about that stuff
Yeah,
because they believe they got it from
yeah,
such a kind of prestigious kind of brand. But
yeah.
it was brand new, and that's
Wow.
yeah, just used for like probably 10 minutes, 20
Yeah.
minutes in a fashion show, and that's it.
Yeah.
And then stored.
No, I feel you. I know that furniture waste is a crazy amount of the stuff that goes to
Yeah.
the landfill is
Yeah.
furniture waste, right? And so,
Yeah,
yeah.
yes, but 70 to 80% of what gets listed now is construction, real estate. So office furniture, purely because of what COVID did, where everybody's remote working, downsizing, moving offices, or co-working spaces. And a lot
Mhm.
of it is like rolling tenants of,
Mhm.
even pension funds use us, where they have
Yeah.
occupiers and tenants on their real estate.
Mhm.
So it's quite wide. I thought initially when I first started it, it'd be just furniture, basic
Yeah.
chairs, tables,
Yeah.
computers. But actually, some of the clients were like, can you do fixtures and fittings, shelving, mannequins, obsolete products that, where it's a copyright infringement, or the print on their logo or something silly
Got
on the
messed up. Yeah.
packaging messed up, rather than burning them, they give them to charities now. So we have like a hidden platform for those
Mm.
companies where they select the kind of non-profits and people to take them. So yeah, it's quite incredible. And then the medical equipment's quite interesting from healthcare and hospitals
Mhm.
because compliance, there's different regulation in different countries, I'm sure in the States as well, but
Mhm.
you can't reuse, in the UK specifically, you can't reuse medical equipment.
Mhm.
but you can redistribute it abroad where policies and legislation are different. So we had non-profits shipping in big cargo containers, things like patient beds, X-ray machines to Western Africa, Poland, Ukraine, Libya, and so forth. So and we were getting photos and videos back of like rural areas where it used to be Ebola crisis, of them kitting out hospitals, which was quite incredible to see.
That is awesome. That is
Yeah,
super
you'd
cool.
be
Yeah.
like, I recognize that bench. I recognize that blue plastic that healthcare use all the time.
For sure. No, that's super great. I mean, it obviously the need was just filling the gap of like the
Yeah,
connection piece, right? So
yeah,
yeah, no,
the
that's
network effect.
awesome. Yeah.
Yeah, and
And then
knowing
you tie that in
what's
with the
what.
ESG data, and then that
Yeah.
it becomes even more useful, right? And so it's great. Yeah.
Completely. It's really about efficiency and solving a problem, enabling companies, particularly in real estate, a very simple solution that's cost effective for them. So they see
Mhm.
immediate results. But, using technology, you can streamline a lot
Right.
of the old school and traditional ways of working.
Hmm.
People within construction and office are embracing it now, and the ESG, because they're understanding how powerful that is, adding value.
Yeah.
It helps them win RFPs, tenders, bids. There's a lot of different ways people have used it. We've had some companies, they're winning so much business on the back of just adding us into a bid. Um,
Interesting.
but,
Because you're filling a requirement for them to be more environmentally friendly or
Exactly, yeah. Or there's
okay.
a specific reuse mandate for that area for whatever reason.
Okay.
And it just differentiates themselves after cost.
Right.
The client is looking for solutions to reduce their carbon, and they're like, hey, we've used this system and this is the results from previous projects. This is what you could save if we did this.
Mm,
So clients are very open to it.
interesting. That is super cool. So, so if you're coming to, or if you're going to another country, say you went into
Yeah.
Spain,
Yeah.
how do you go and build out your market? Like, are you just find somebody local there and then just say, hey, we need these kinds of people, just reach out to them, go find them? Like, is it just really
Yeah. So
as simple as that?
a bit of both. Pre-COVID, that's how we did it. We had specifically Spanish people, like Spanish natives. They're very friendly, but
Mhm.
people with different languages and cultures prefer kind of local native speakers. So
Yeah.
we had someone on the ground do some networking for us and build up. But we reached out on the larger clients from here.
Okay.
Started building. And we had one client that initially said, can we do Spain? And then we realized Spain was actually a really good market and very quick to build up. So that, yes, the US actually very different, all remote, because we did it in COVID. And then we realized that's the beauty of marketplace, right? You can
Mm-hmm.
scale by technically not being in the country. The only challenges really are time zone situations. Like I've spoken to Australia quite a few times at 4 a.m. in the morning.
Oh, trust me, been there.
Yeah, yeah, it's tough. It grains on you after the 10th meeting. It's not like you can pop over for an hour for a
I
meeting.
know. I
So,
know. I
there's
still want if you've come across a Star Trek teleporter, just let me know. I'll buy
I
it.
know
I'll take it.
we're working on one. That's the side hustle. But
Yeah.
it's challenges like that I'm sure people, understand working in those industries. But the US is actually fairly, like me and you are speaking now, even in the US, there's a lot more video calls now, and people are
Mhm.
doing hybrid models. So I've not had one client go, can you come over and have our 1 hour call, and then I'd be like just trying to justify it, going, I can't really get on a plane at the moment for an hour. And then pop back.
No, I mean, I have
um,
Zoom calls with people in Austin. I mean, I
yeah,
like to meet
I
in
know.
person.
Yes.
Yeah, I like to meet in person, but sometimes it's just too crazy and I don't want to
Yeah.
wait. I'm like,
I don't
let's
want
just
to
on
wait.
a
Yeah.
Zoom.
It's an hour there, an hour meeting, an hour back. You realize, like, commercially the time that we
Yeah.
used to waste on that kind of thing. And people are a little bit more like prompt, on a video now. We're so used to it. So,
Mhm.
so it's become a lot easier to do remote. And, the way we build our network of recipients, the taking members, is all remote anyway, because we would never go and speak
Oh.
to these people. It's word of mouth referrals, organic growth,
Mhm.
marketing, just the general everything, a bit of everything, conferences.
Mhm.
Client side, different. We have people doing referral work like commission for us as well. And
Mhm.
then eventually we'd hire a salesperson, for example, in
Yeah.
different states eventually, or someone that would cover 2 states if they're close proximity.
Yeah. So
Mm.
the clients pay you to offload their stuff,
Yeah.
right? Is basically how that works. Okay. And then for them, they, besides the ESG data, but they don't, do people actually buy it, or is it all free?
All free. We
It's
don't
all free.
sell. Yeah,
Okay.
my argument for not putting a sales aspect on there was marketplaces that sell have been going for years. Amazon, eBay, you've got so
Yeah.
many selling platforms. And also these big companies, if they're not selling on these websites or corporate
I'm not
websites,
gonna.
they're not going to sell. And also it's not worth it. Their main business is not selling their bits and
Extra set.
pieces. Recycling would have been probably a big option and probably still is for a lot of these companies because they get cashbacks. But even recycling rates and, quality and value of that is not as it used to be. And there's a little bit of like snobbery around recycling now in some clients where they don't want to do it
Mm.
for different reasons, or it's more costly for them.
Mhm.
So yeah, so that they're really what they're getting as a reduction in their waste costs. They're
Yeah.
probably reducing their logistics costs for moving stuff around and possibly warehouse and storage costs if they
Yeah,
have, whether it's third party, their own buildings.
for
So
sure.
there's an indirect cost that is very hard for them to um, calculate because it's not that tangible or it's very
Mhm.
hidden. It's not that transparent. And
Mhm.
we came along going, hey, how much you spend on your waste and your logistics on this project? And nobody really knows, It's a bit of a white elephant, like let's keep that one
Exactly.
quiet.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. But
Yeah.
the beauty of construction is they kind of know on a
Yeah, that's
project
true. They know
because they have to
exactly.
budget. So
Yeah.
they're a little bit better than, say,
And,
a retail store or
yeah.
a bank that's moving offices. They wouldn't know how much they're spending on facilities management because it's never broken down for them to that
Mhm.
granular thing. I know now companies are asking for costs to segment their waste, different
Mhm.
types of waste, but
Mhm.
it's been very much a gray area, and we're technically not classed as waste because it doesn't go in a bin, doesn't go in a bin yet.
Oh,
So it's
in a
technically
normal bin,
classed
right?
as
Yeah,
it's
the normal trash, like the
yeah,
normal trash people will not take construction material. They're
exactly.
you
Yeah,
have to do it on your own. You have to get a dumpster at your site, and then you
yeah,
have to haul it off over to, or pay a
yeah.
hauler to
Somebody to
haul it
take
to the
it.
landfill.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah,
absolutely.
exactly. So we come in almost between that.
Yeah, exactly. Diverting
Yeah,
that. And it's a huge cost. I mean, when I was a general
huge.
contractor, it was
It can be
5%, six
millions.
percent of the job,
Yeah,
it was
it can be
nuts.
millions per
Yeah.
year for these companies that maybe have multi offices. That it's just even ad hoc. Never mind, as you said, like the 5-6% on a project.
Mhm.
It's crazy.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
for sure. It's yeah, that it can be. It's kind of interesting. So yeah, no, that's super cool. And so not everything makes it reused, right? So
No.
what do you do with the rest of it? Then that goes to the landfill. So you're diverting as much as you can.
Yeah, so they listed on obviously virtually, so we don't take anything ourselves.
Yeah.
So 98% that goes through a system is requested and reused and collected.
Okay.
We do
Okay.
have other so there's very minute percentage of recycling. There's a bit of upcycling and there's a bit of resell. You see, we class resell slightly different from reusing,
Yeah.
and that's usually thrift stores and
Yeah.
places like that might take some materials or products that or furniture and resell it in their stores. But predominantly, we built our system on the basis that it was about reuse. So
Right.
hence, we do have a very high take-up rate. There would be the odd thing left over, either if it's strange, it's a bit broken,
Mm-hmm.
like just the time ran out for somebody. to request it. But we still remain quite high. Between 95 and 98% of what gets listed gets taken.
Oh, that's awesome. That's very,
Yeah, very high.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what is most important to a customer on this whole process around the ESG? What are they using all of it? What do they care most about on the
Yeah,
ESG?
so that's quite kind of personal to each company, to be honest.
Oh,
Yeah, they do they I think they like the S part of the ESG, the social, because governance, they probably have it to a T, you
yeah,
know. But
hopefully.
also, yeah, hopefully, right? But governance has always been the bigger one that everybody
Right.
focuses on. The things
Yeah.
like kilos diverted, the carbon, is kind of new to everybody, you know, and it's like how
Yeah.
do they measure it? Where do they get that information from? Is it genuine? Is it transparent? So what usually happens is a client will list something and think, oh, this is a small project. We haven't got much, you know, to list. I was
Mhm.
like, they list it. And then they realize that's 1,000 units or something that's created a huge diversion of kilos and a pretty decent amount of carbon scope 3 emissions, you know, avoided. And then when they look at the data, they're like, wow, that little bit saved us this. And then they go and work out how much they saved on the haulage, right?
Mhm.
Companies picking up.
Yeah.
And then when they realize, they're like, oh my gosh, you know, like we're saving a lot of money.
Yeah, I
And
know, right?
it was you see them then use it on the next project and the next project. When you ask them, they're like, well, when I saw how much we saved. So they kind of slip up and I'm like, oh, well, that's nice to know. It's like because
Yeah.
no one really tells you how much they save because they want to keep that close to their chest. But
Yeah.
but that's what they're looking at. But what I think what they like is the fact that it's in real time. So they can go into that data report. We've got infographics in there. They can split per location. They can
Mhm.
split like individuals. If you have third parties working with you, you can look at what they're doing. You can see everything in there, and you know it's dynamic, it's a dynamic system. So
Mhm.
and they can print all that off, and then we never allow the members that to take more items unless they filled in a case study. So you get brilliant little fluffy stories on what they've done with the items and thank
Oh,
you.
that's super
And
cool.
yeah, and the clients can print that off and put that in their report. So we've just had a really large investment asset management company. They've seen like a great story of one of the nonprofits that took their materials and their furniture from their offices, and they were like, we'd love to record them and do an internal piece on it for our employees. And obviously they push it
That's
out, do some
awesome.
PR. So that would never have happened,
Yeah.
you know, they would never have found that small charity. I've known that small charity would have never
Right.
reached out to such a global organization and been able to go, hey, can I have those bits
Yeah.
and pieces? So I think that's what's quite special about it.
Mhm.
And also we're very famous for like the speed, velocity. You know, we really we understand um, construction, right? We
Yeah.
understand everything needs to be really quick. You're stressed all the time. It's not your main job. The project manager is going to be like, what now? I have to stick things on a website. So we try and make it as simple as possible, and efficient as possible to make it effortless, really. So
Yeah.
once people use it, they come back because they've gone, do you know what? That saved me $50,000. And it only took 20 minutes to save that,
Yeah.
technically, you know.
Exactly. So then it becomes
Yeah.
a no-brainer. It's like, well, duh.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't
Yeah,
I?
it's a win-win. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah. No, for sure. It what do you see next for kind of what y'all are doing? You
Yeah.
just graphic expansion. I mean, you're going to go into different markets, you think, or
Yeah, so the focus is US East and West Coast, the usual, like everybody does, expansion, just getting people to understand Globe Chain exists. We're
Mhm.
here, our system is very robust to do whatever you want, really.
Mhm.
Build that up. And then really our phase 3 is to do kind of Asia, Middle East, because we get a lot of inquiries over that. But you know, we're still a small business, even though our marketplace is quite big.
Yeah.
So that would be kind of those stages. The US market we picked because I know everybody does US, but there's a lot of real estate, there's a lot of construction. It's in
Yep.
English.
Yeah, I
The
know. I feel
regulation
you.
is very similar, very similar to how we operate in Europe.
Yes.
So and these companies are global, and it's not just the really large ones, small and medium. They all need this. There's a need for it to save money, even for them, even more so than the
Yeah.
large ones. So we'd really love in the next couple of years to be like the name and the go-to
Hmm.
to do this, and also looking at partnerships, right, with other
Yeah.
innovation
Yeah.
and expanding the kind of service value proposition that
Yeah.
we have for the people. As you can't be everything, and
No.
we're
Mm,
not trying to be everything, but what we're trying to do is be an enabling piece
sure.
to show you, like, networks and collaboration can really work. And the irony is construction industry is all about collaboration. you know
True.
so we should
Yeah.
be good at this.
Yeah, hopefully. Hopefully. We'll see. Too funny. Yeah, no, I think it's awesome. So you have you're focused kind of on real estate and construction. You could do other things, but you're kind of honing in there, or are you?
Yeah, no, if people know retailers, big, small, we work with actually a couple of big marketing agencies that work for multi-brands, with promotional
Okay.
material, things like that. Products are always very interesting and very good because there's a high demand, obviously, and I'm talking products like cleaning products, shampoos, beauty
Yeah.
products. We work with a large global company doing that here and about to do in the States.
Okay.
And yeah, and medical healthcare, whether
Yeah.
it's a care home, whatever. We've done gym equipment, from
Wow.
stores like your Peloton and people like that.
Mhm.
So it's really everything and anything. I'd say the only thing we don't do is food, because that
There you
has a whole big
go. Yes.
legality around it, and it's just
Yeah.
not
Stay
for
away.
us.
Stay away.
Exactly. Yeah. And I would say really broken electricals are probably harder to, obviously for obvious reasons, reuse, because we're making assumption you're recycling them. But
Yeah.
that's not to say people don't take them and fix things, but very low quantities of
Yeah.
recycling goes on the system.
Yeah. Okay. Very, very cool. So, explain to me the thing about the stock price. I know you touched on it, but I think it would be a really cool conversation around the whole ESG piece into the stock price. What is that? What is that?
Yeah, the secondary value of the
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah. So obviously let's assume, just being very simple, you've got some Herman Millen chairs, right? Right, they're expensive chairs. They're always used in nice offices, and we've had a lot of people give those away. They're quite high value,
Mhm.
and so what happens is when you're giving that away to say when you're using the internal system of ours, you could be giving it away to another department or another office that
Mhm.
you own somewhere else, and you can just move it around with your own logistics. Now, there's a saving there because that office may have had to buy those 4 chairs as
Right.
new, right? So there's a market value in that if you were to sell them. So we scan the whole internet to understand the average cost if you were to sell those in, say, good condition, fair condition, poor condition,
Oh, okay.
broken.
Gotcha.
And then that's the value that we incorporate into. It comes up as a saving in the data, and it
Oh.
also incorporates inflation. So based on what's going on in the market,
Mm.
it changes. But that moment in time of that transaction, of when it gets requested and collected, that's when we calculate that. So yeah, and then the carbon, it's quite a complex formula, but we look at all the emission factors in different countries based on where you are, and that has to be updated every year to calculate the carbon
And are
scope.
they able to put that on their financial statements? Those
Yes,
they
yes,
are.
yeah,
Oh, no,
because yeah.
no wonder.
Yeah,
Okay.
because we do the carbon credit side, we get verified. So every time we do an audit, which we do roughly every year,
Mhm.
we could do it quicker than that as well. But we try and do it once a year. We have to update all those figures. We get an independent audit, and obviously to check our
Yeah.
our coding, the
Yeah.
transactions, make sure they're legitimate. We only
Mhm.
calculate the ones that for reuse as well. So that is a figure that definitely the finance director, I think would love, and definitely the ESG people dealing with that
Oh,
side.
oh,
Yeah.
for sure. Especially if they ever got audited, they go, here you go. We have an outside
Exactly. You can just
party
print globe
certificate.
chain off. Yeah, completely,
Yeah,
completely.
that's
Yeah.
interesting.
And we have
That is,
integrations as well. So some companies have their own carbon calculations because they have complex
mhm,
systems and products and things like that. And we can just integrate. We have API integrations that can plug into their software and help pre-populate, send some data back if they wanted. We can also do that with logistics. So if you had your own logistic partners and couriers that move things around in
mhm,
privately, internally between all your locations or externally,
mhm.
we can plug that in and we can measure that as well. So
Wow.
it all helps. Just depends
Yeah.
on the technologies
No.
there on their side. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if it boosts their bottom line, which it sounds like it does,
Yeah.
right? It's
Yeah.
not a below the line expense, it's an actual, it affects their operating margin.
Completely.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Completely.
that's awesome. That is
Yeah.
super cool. Yeah, I
Yeah.
think that was always kind of the missing piece. Yeah, people wanted to get rid of it, but now that they get the money to like add onto their financial statement, it makes them look better.
Completely.
Yeah,
Completely. And,
that's
and I'm
awesome.
sure all the finance people out there are very creative and clever and in how to account for things. So
Oh, you know they are.
So I'm sure, they'd love to see more data because I know historically they wouldn't talk to, say, the contractor on the ground. You
Mhm.
wouldn't think of, that they'll just write it off probably. Uh,
Yes.
and
it just, you created a transparency into the process where they
yeah,
can actually capture some of that and use it. Yeah, for
absolutely.
sure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's like wasted data that they already have, but they
Yes.
didn't know they have.
Yeah. No, no, for sure. No, and I think a lot of that's where a lot of the prop tech is going these days is recognizing that there's data all around you that you're not using. And
Yeah,
if you just capture it and then
yeah,
go, oh, well, we could be saving money doing this, or we could be doing this, or whatever it might
exactly.
be. And yeah, I think that's the next revolution. There's a data revolution happening in the
Yeah,
whole
completely. And
prop
it's
tech
about the
thing.
right bits of data, right? So it
Right.
is about different departments talking to each other and going, okay, your finance director, what do you need? Where do you struggle? Because he's the one or she's the one that's going out getting a loan for the
Yes,
next
exactly.
project or credit, and that's where information like this could really help them.
Mhm. Yeah, no, and I don't, I know that there's more and more green types of social kinds of loans that are
Yes,
becoming more
green
prevalent. And I
bonds.
do think that especially with the GSA, so like on the multifamily side, so
Yeah,
Freddie Mac and Fannie Mae and
yeah,
all of those are going to have their mandates around this eventually. I mean, Freddie
yeah.
Mac is a green program, but it's kind of voluntary. But I
Yes.
think eventually over time, it just becomes like some sort of mandatory
No,
requirement.
absolutely. I know Barclays have an ESG rating system. You've
Mhm.
got Blackstone, BlackRock, that
Yeah.
they're all ESG focused, kind of, they shout a lot about it. But
Mhm.
really, all the banks do use it, do
Yeah.
use some type of rating. They just won't tell you. You
That's
know?
good to know. Good to
Yeah,
know.
yeah. Maybe you need to take your analyst out for a mushroom conversation.
Apparently, I need to get a drug or something. They tell me what's
Yeah.
going on. That is too funny. Oh, it's very cool. This has been a great conversation. Look at that. Our hour's almost up. This is like,
It goes so quick.
it
See,
does. It
you're
goes
having
like
fun.
it is when you're having fun. It's awesome. Well, if somebody would like to get a hold of you,
Yeah.
how could they do that, or where could they go?
Yeah, just go on. Our site would be the easiest. There's a little chat. You can talk to some of the team there. They're live unless they're sleeping. If it's if you're in California, we might be asleep. But at the moment anyway. But go on to globechain.com, globechain.com, and just go to our contact us for form. If you want to help us, we have referral schemes, if you want to add a bit of money on the side, or even if you're interested in knowing a bit more about what we do and pushing it out. But really, it's really just about like we'd love more people using it in the States, or if you want to
Oh,
partner
yeah.
and you think you've got something to offer and showcase, that would be amazing too. And on the other side, non-profits, please just register. It's free to
Oh,
take.
yeah.
So we don't
Yeah.
charge for people that want to take. So that could be a cafe, little restaurant, a youth center, schools. They just tell anybody you know in the community that they can go onto something like this and request all the stuff from the corporates for free. You just have to pay for your own transport.
Oh,
But you're
interesting.
free to just register as and when.
Ah, very cool. That is so awesome. Well, thanks again for coming on the show. This has been
Thank you for
super
having
cool.
me.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
know, loved it.
All right. Awesome.